Alright, what's going on, everybody? Hope this video finds you well. We're going to go into a really cool topic here of how to sync up the arms and the trail hip in the downswing. So, before we get into that, if you haven't checked out the last video that I did, that link is down below in the description. I've also got a free crash course on understanding impact. I'd love to have you check that out. Let's go ahead, let's get right into it. So if I use me as an example and a lot of players that I see out there, and I think a lot of this is due in part to how we're actually trying to turn and also the sequence and how we're trying to turn, why the arms will actually start to get trapped behind the body. So if we look at most of us, so if I use me as an example right here, one of the hardest things for me in my golfing career has always, and what's always plagued me, is my knee and my trail hip actually want to work up this direction. So this would actually be flexion of the trail hip. This would be extension of it. So this would be extension. This would be flexion of it. Okay, so when we look at when this leg starts to go this direction into actually trail hip flexion, and I'm up in here with my arms like this, and this starts to go this direction, this is now going to get trapped right here. So for a lot of us, and myself included, I remember hearing Tiger talk about this a lot when he was working on his golf swing with Butch back in the day, was actually having the feeling of getting his arms out in front of him here while this trail hip was staying back, so that we can actually keep this golf club more on plane and create more of a straight line acceleration down the plane to the actual golf ball right here. So the more that we have, this goes up, forward, we're going to have an opposing reaction of pulling down and in, or down and back. So this would be up and forward. This would be down and back. And this would be where we would start to actually get stuck right here. So this is actually a very difficult thing, I would say, for the majority of us to fix right here. So there's a couple of ways that I would go into, like two of my favorite drills to actually fix this. And here's what they would actually be. So number one, a very common drill that I use for a lot of players is, what I'll do is I'll take the trail leg back until it is actually straight. Okay, this is going to start a little bit more pressure here on my lead side, and what I'll do is I'll actually hit golf shots from here feeling like this leg stays straight. Now, what it still has the ability to do is it can actually internally, this trail leg can internally rotate, which keeps my pelvis here, and it also helps me maintain my spine inclination. And the other thing that it does is it actually gives the arms a runway to get back out in front of us. If we are that player that struggles with getting the arms stuck back here behind us. So this right here is one of my favorite drills. So I go trail leg back to where it's straight once I take my normal setup. So I would go trail leg back to where it's straight, and I'm going to feel like this leg stays straight to impact, and then I'm internally rotating this right here. So if I demoed one of those, this would look like this. So I go trail leg straight, and now you can see the posture that I would be in. And this gives the arms the ability to really start to swing more around us, staying on more of a constant plane right there. Now, we aren't going to play golf with our trail leg that far back. I would say playing with a modified version of it doesn't hurt anybody, as long as we know how to actually align the golf club to the actual target. So another drill, and this would be a cool spot that I could see a lot of you practicing right here. So what I've got is I've got an antenna here in my belt. And so what I would use this antenna here for, if I throw another ball in the ground, is I would use this antenna. One, it's on the pelvis line right here. So if I go to the top, and my first move is I go into flexion of the trail hip, the knee comes forward, the ankle goes into early extension here. Well, these arms now are going to get trapped behind this antenna, and I'm not going to be able to access the golf ball as well. So one of my drills, or drills that I've also seen a lot of other really good coaches, I don't have the names of these coaches right here, but I've seen this out of a lot of other coaches here, is what we would do is we'd go to the top here, keeping the arm structure together. And what I really want you to feel is keeping the arm structure together. Bring this back down to parallel to the ground in front of you. And we could do this with quite a bit of speed right here, keeping that here. So now you can see the shaft has gotten back out in front of where the trail hip actually is right here. Now, we're not using this to say, I want you to come way the heck over the top, because I can still work this up here on plane, and barring that I don't do this, I can still work this golf club back down on its relative plane right there, and I can still actually start to rotate through the shot right here. So what I would do is the drill, swing this up. We're going to keep the antenna back, keep the arm structure together, and we're going to bring this down here and stop it. So you can see how my arms are they're together right here. We haven't had any separation, and we haven't had the trail hip and the trail knee move forward here. Once we do this a couple times, then we're going to give it a go. So I'm going to swing this back, keeping it here. I'll do this one relatively slow so you can see it, and I'll show you a faster version. So it'd be here, and there would be more of that look right there. And that ball was about as flush as I could hit it, dead down my target line, and I could feel how the arms were out here, and they weren't trapped behind me to where this left arm, my lead arm, is stuck to my chest, and the trail arm is behind me there. Now we'll do one a little bit quicker. But this is a really unique way, a really cool way of syncing up the arms and the trail side of the pelvis to where we can really access the plane of where the golf club needs to be on. So it'd be here, there would be my feel, and that ball was absolutely smashed right there. And what I love about the feel of this, for me, being a player that struggled with early extension, or we could call it trail hip flexion, early extension, is on the way through, I love the feel of where my spine is and where the pelvis is. Now that this hasn't actually worked out, and this is rotating in more towards the target. So something as simple as this, very good feedback station. Really use a lot of video doing this. Let me know if you have any questions on this. Leave those in the comments down below. I'll get back to each and every one of you. Appreciate you watching. See you next time.